You are in Ho Chi Minh City. How's your life in Vietnam?
The normal domestic activities in Vietnam have returned to the pre-pandemic level.
Why is Vietnam's economy is so strong in recent years?
The export of Vietnam increased dramatically to the United States and Europe during 2020 and 21.
Do you think Vietnam is the next world factory?
I think it'll be a big player in the manufacturing space in the world.
What is your forecast for the performance of Vietnam's stock market in 2022?
Earnings growth for Vietnamese companies on the stock market is between 20 to 25%.
越南经济今年快速增长，越南的股市也是在疫情期间全球表现最好的股市之一。今天我对话一位越南投资专家，来解读越南经济以及投资前景。他是越南投资管理公司 VinaCapital 首席投资官 Andy Ho。Andy, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me on.
Vietnam has lifted its travel restrictions from March 15th. As I know, Hanoi just hosted Southeast Asia Games. So you are in Ho Chi Minh City. How's your life in Vietnam?
The normal domestic activities in Vietnam have returned to the pre-pandemic level. We see domestic travel back to normal. We see restaurants and coffee shops and hotels catering to domestic customers back to normal. I have to admit, the reason I use domestic is because our international travel to Vietnam since March 15 has still been very, very limited.
Vietnam's economy in the first quarter expanded by more than 5%. Exports rose by 13.4%. And Vietnam is one of the fastest growing economies in the world during the pandemic. Why is Vietnam's economy is so strong in recent years?
We have a lot of foreign direct investments from companies like Samsung, Intel, IKEA. And during the COVID restriction period during 2020 and 21, there's been an increase of what we call stay-at-home goods from the United States and Europe. So Vietnam produces a lot of these stay-at-home goods. The export of Vietnam increased dramatically to the United States and Europe during 2020 and 21. And as a result, the manufacturing activities and the domestic activities and GDP continue to grow during this very difficult period that we went through over the last couple of years.
Do you expect Vietnam have another robust year in 2022?
It's hard to say. As most people can imagine, there's discussions of recessions all around the world, basically because of inflation and the increase of interest rates in Europe and the United States, where Vietnam exports a lot. And so I think the activities will slow down a little bit. It'll continue to grow. We still think GDP will grow 5 to 6% this year.
One reason people are interested in Vietnam is its manufacturing power. As you said, many global companies already have factories in Vietnam. Why Vietnam is attractive? Do you think Vietnam is the next world factory?
I think it'll be a big player in the manufacturing space in the world. But again, Vietnam is getting more and more integrated with the global community. It'll play a major role in manufacturing, particularly in the low end and the high end electronics. I do believe over the next 5 to 10 years, Vietnam will be the top, if not the #1 manufacturing base for Southeast Asia. And here's a few reasons. One is we have a strong infrastructure built out, from highways to railroads to airports to seaport. 2, we have a low cost of labor. 3, we have a very stable currency. 4, we have a very stable government system. The policy in Vietnam is very pro economic growth. It learns, the government of Vietnam looks around the world. They look at Singapore, they look at China, they look at South Korea, and they look at all the economic model, and they take the best of all these countries and they apply it. I think multinationals come to Vietnam to have what we call a diversified manufacturing base. I think China will still be at the center of supply chain. Vietnam will be part of that. We are part of a global community, and everyone will play a part in a global supply chain system.
You are Vietnamese. You grew up in the United States and returned to Vietnam in 2004. What brought you back?
I think that's a great question. Both my wife and myself, we are Vietnamese, and I want to be part of the growth story. I think it has grown a lot more than I had expected. It had grown faster than I expected. And as a result, I'm very excited to be part of that growth. I still think that Vietnam has a lot of growth potential for the next 10 years, and I still want to be part of that growth. I want my children to participate in this growth as well. And I think if we continue to have a stable economic environment, a stable political environment, a stable currency, we will attract many, many investors from around the world, including China. We have a lot of interested investors in Vietnam from China. And I think Vietnam will continue to grow over the next at least 5 to 10 years. And I'm hoping to continue to be part of that growth.
You have extensive work experience in the investment in Vietnam. So what investment have you made?
And we look at a few things when we make investments. One is the general economy is growing at 6 or 7% per annum. The businesses that we invest in are growing at 20 to 30% earnings per annum for the next 3 to 5 years. We invest in hospitals, schools, banks, food and beverage, manufacturing, construction materials. A lot of things are growing, and we typically look at the rate of growth as being about 3 times the growth of GDP as a good benchmark for our investments in companies. So overall, we've invested in private businesses over the years, over 200 companies. Our average return on only the private investment has been 20 to 21% return over the last, since 2005. So the average return is about 20, 21%. If we include the public equity as well, we increase our return to about 25 to 30% since 2005.
What investment opportunities are you looking at right now?
So really, we like to invest in sectors that contribute or participate or benefit from the growth of the domestic economy. So today we have over $200 million of opportunities in our portfolio. They include companies in logistics, banks, property development, and manufacturing. We like right now airport businesses and airlines that will benefit as the economy opens up. So Vietnam's economy is opening up very strong. So domestic airlines has performed very, very well. Other areas that we like is banks. When we have inflation and when interest rates go up, banks tend to do very, very well. We like hospitals, like I said again, people are getting older. We want to invest in hospitals. And so those are the areas we like a lot.
Let's talk about equities. Vietnam stock market rose by 35.7% in 2021. What is your forecast for the performance of Vietnam's stock market in 2022?
It's probably not going to grow 35 to 40% like 2021. I think it's going to grow, but at a much lesser pace in 2022. But I think more importantly, how do we look at the earnings growth of businesses on the stock market? I think in general, what you'll see is the average earnings growth in Vietnam stock market, the earnings growth for Vietnamese companies on the stock market is between 20 to 25%. So we expect them to grow earnings between 20 to 25% in 2022 relative to 2021. But there are risks that we need to consider. Obviously, the risk is that there's a recession in the United States and Europe. Interest rates move up too quickly and it causes a recession. There is a risk that commodity prices continue to rise, like gas, oil, and wheat, because the conflict in Ukraine and Russia continues to push the inflation of commodity prices up. So there are concerns that we need to keep an eye on. But I think in general, we do expect the Vietnamese stock market to continue to grow, but not at the same level as 2021. And the growth will be on the back of the earnings growth of 20 to 25% in 2022.